Hi, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and welcome to the Best Business Podcast. My mission is to help create 200 new multi-millionaire business owners. How? You'll do better when you know better. In my interviews, you'll hear from self-made millionaires, seven-figure business owners, authors, and world-class experts sharing how they did it so you can too without experiencing the same obstacles they did. When your life and your business grow as a result of what you're about to discover, please call me and tell me about it. The number to leave a voicemail is 1-888-844-GROW. That's 1-888-844-4769. Long distance charges may apply. Dial now to call me, connect, share your personal story of how my interviews have helped, or share your current challenges and frustrations so I can connect you with an appropriate course, coach, or help you if you connect. Now, if you like this interview, please share it with a friend you think will benefit. They'll appreciate it, and I will as well. You can also connect with me on social media. Look for Daryl Urbanski, D-A-R-Y-L, Urban Ski, U-R-B-A-N-S-K-I, and add me so we can be friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy what I've prepared for you right here, right now. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today we are joined by Pam Reynolds, co-founder of Allegiance Aging Care Services. And in 2013, Allegiance was launched with the primary goal of providing support and guidance to seniors who want to grow older in their homes. Although she is a certified care manager, she focuses on the operations of her business and has built such a well-run operation. She's been admired by her competitors, both big and small. It is her belief that seniors should have a choice in where and how they want to live as they age and should be able to do so in a happy and healthy way. I've asked Pam to join us here today to talk about building a business around taking care of people from top to bottom. So Pam, thank you so much for joining us. There has been so much effort into getting this interview to happen. How are you doing this morning?
I'm wonderful, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, everyone, you definitely need to give Pam full respect for this. She's dealt with a couple of tech issues. Listen to me talk about my dog woes, having to climb 10 flights of stairs, all sorts of crazy stuff. And but she's still here because she really wants to share her message. And her business is all about caring. So hopefully you can show her some love and respect as well. So Pam, I know that you've built kind of a really respectable business, and this is something new too. This isn't like you've been doing this for 30 years. Like you've been in the industry, but you haven't been running this business for 30 years, right? Like you kind of just started this business just a few years ago, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, we've been in business. This is our 6th year. So, we've been through quite a bit in what seems like a short time. So it seems a lot longer than it actually is, just because of everything that's unfolded. But about 6 years now we've been doing the home care business.
So before you got into running your own business, like how did you get into this? Do you come from an entrepreneurial family? Were your parents entrepreneurs? Where did you learn about business?
Oh boy, so self-taught really. I did not come from a family of entrepreneurs, and it was quite a scary thing actually for me to do. I have been working as a social worker and in the senior care industry, since I graduated from college. And really it's a mentor, a friend of mine who I met in the business that's about 15 or so years my senior, and she basically has been my mentor and my guide. And so it was her that, my business partner, the co-founder of the company, it was her that saw in me, that I could do this and encouraged me to do so and approached me with the idea. So honestly, before that, I really hadn't envisioned, working for myself or starting my own business. It really wasn't something I even thought about doing. But she's a serial entrepreneur, and she's, had many successful businesses in her lifetime. And, she saw it in me and invited me to join her and start this business together.
That's awesome. That's so exciting. So was it just like, all right, I'm going to put up my shingle and it was all sunshine and rainbows? Is that how the story went?
Exactly. That's exactly how it happened. How did you know? Yeah, I mean, just like anybody else, when you start a business, like I said, it was definitely scary. There's a lot of challenges involved with it. And we decided the senior care industry has a lot of, franchise opportunities. And I investigated several of those. And, we just decided that what we wanted to do is really unique in the market, and that we wanted the flexibility to do things the way that we see right for these clients. And so we decided to build it, ourselves and to create something from scratch. And so there's a lot of challenges to that, doing your own, research, market research, business plan, all the marketing and branding, doing all that yourself, getting the sales and marketing off the ground. And so, it definitely took some time. We started developing or working on the business in fall of 2013 and got our first client in February, March, I believe, of 2014. And there's licensing, you have to go through and everything. So we actually got our license. We didn't get our home care license until July of the following year. So we were just doing companion care to start. So yeah, it's a process. It's a lengthy process. And like I said, I was really self-taught because I didn't really have any guidance or any background, no MBA over here. So teaching myself how to start and run a business. So
did anything really shock you?
Big learning curve.
Anything really shock you or surprise you? Like, I expected it to be like this, but it wasn't. It was like this. Like, did you have any, was your expectations, did anything throw you off?
Yeah, I would say the hardest thing, being that I had quite a bit of sales background at that point in my career, the hardest thing was really just getting the sales and marketing off the ground and, realizing that having the background and having the connections that I already had in the industry, I definitely thought it would be easier, to get out there and earn people's trust to send us referrals. And so, that was probably the biggest difficulty, to overcome is, when you start a new business, it's even if people know, like, and trust you, they have to most people kind of want to see what you're doing and kind of see some success with it first before they're, willing to, work with you or make you a referral, So the amount of time, I guess, it took to kind of get things off the ground and have business rolling in is probably the most difficult part for me because I kind of just thought it would, it would come, So yeah, that was probably my biggest, I guess, shocker. But, it did come. I mean, it just takes time to, to build that trust and to show people that you're, you know what you're doing and also that you're going to stick around because in this industry and especially in my geographical area, there's a lot of, here today, gone tomorrow, so to speak, put up their popsicle stand and then they're gone, 6 months later or a year later. So you have to show that you're in it for the long haul and, that you're able to get it off the ground.
So you said it shocked you how hard the sales and marketing part was. You thought because you had some sales experience before and because you worked in the industry, you thought it was just, people were just going to be like, oh, hey, what's up, Pam? Of course, here's a bag of money. Here's all these customers. And I'm poking fun at you, but I'm doing it,
Yeah.
And but it wasn't. So what was it more like, and how did you overcome that hurdle?
Well, I would say we overcome the hurdle a couple different ways. First is just showing up every day. I mean, it really just takes a lot of, determination and not giving up. You really have to stick with it. You can't give up. You can't take no for an answer, So just being able to roll with the punches and show people that, you're serious and you're here to stay is number one. And then number two, we really did, like I mentioned earlier, we considered, the franchise model, but we really did have something unique that we wanted to bring to market, which is just this physician incorporated home care model that we have. And so we knew we had something different. We knew we had something that was needed, that we just had to prove to, the market that we could do it. So I think having something unique and different that really does make a difference for people. Seniors definitely struggle with managing their medical care when they're homebound. It's difficult to get out to physician appointments and to maintain compliance with your plan of care and your medical needs and to manage all your medications. And, all those things are very challenging for seniors, and we have a solution for that. So we just, we really had to figure out the best way to package that and to market it so that people would see the value and would kind of understand why, working with us would benefit their clients more so than, the neighboring competitor or franchise that's, in our market.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So you found a better way, just like you said, kind of like Dr. Seuss Green Eggs and Ham. Like, hey, will you eat them in a house? No. Will you eat them with a mouse? No. Will you eat them over here? No. Will you eat them over there? I like Dr. Seuss Green Eggs and Ham. I feel like it's a really good sales guy where you're being persistent, you're kind of having fun with it, and you're not just like, hey, want to have coffee? 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 Hey, like it's there's flavor to it, you know what I mean? And at the same time, they kind of laugh at you like this guy's crazy. What's he going to show up with next? Like, I think that's an important part. Like I forget who said it, but it's like success is running from failure to failure without loss of faith and enthusiasm.
It is. Yeah, it is definitely. And, you just really have to, like I said, you have to show up every day. You can't let it get you down. And, it's funny you mentioned, do you want to have coffee? Because one of the things I say to people when they ask, well, how do you have such a wide network? How do you know everybody? I mean, I don't turn down coffee with anyone. I'm very open to meeting with people. You never know what the connection will lead to. And, I really believe in helping others selflessly. If someone reaches out to me and wants to know, how I've gotten to where I am or how I could, help them potentially, I'm always open to that. I mean, obviously you have to manage your time, but I do my best to make time to meet with people and to figure out, how I can be of service to them. In our industry, and I'm sure like others, it's very transient and a lot of people move around and they might be in one position today, but then next month they're in a completely different position where, the tables could turn and they might be able to actually help you with something in your business. So, I always seize those opportunities and make connections. I mean, those community connections are very, very powerful. So, just recognizing that, you can be of service to someone now and they can turn around and be helpful to you in the future is key too.
Yeah, because you could have the world's greatest business, you could have the world's greatest service or product, but if nobody knows about it, will you help anyone? And it reminds me, I was in a coaching group years ago, and one of the guys, it was a hot seat, his turn to be in the hot seat, talk about his business and let us poke at it and talk about it and all that.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he needed more certification, that he wanted to go back to school for a couple of years to get this level. He was a couple counselor, and he wanted to go get, I don't forget what it was. It wasn't like a master's or anything, but he wanted some special designation, but he would have to chase this thing for like a year or something. And he thought that would be the breakthrough that he needed in his business. And at the time, I think we were in Jersey. We were just across the tunnel from Manhattan. And the guru was like, okay, well, how many couples do you need to have like a full caseload? He's like, 100 couples would be crazy, like a full practice for him. Okay. And then right now where we are in an 8-block radius, we're amongst all these like high-rise condo buildings. In an 8-block radius, how many couples are there in this area that you could help with the knowledge you have right here, right now? And he goes, probably a couple thousand. He said, perfect, exactly. So you don't actually need more training and education. You need better marketing and sales because there are already so many people out there. Right. And that's what came to mind when you said you would sit down for coffee with anybody because you had the skills and there's so many people that you can help and you just haven't met them yet. Right? And that's exactly. I think that's a really important business lesson for anybody listening. And this is something I've had to learn a couple of times is isolation is incredibly dangerous. In the wild, when animals isolate themselves when they're sick and then they die, like that's not in business. You have to do the opposite. You have to thrust yourself out there, be in front of people, constantly networking. I think that's a fantastic tip. What are some other things that you felt, like habits that you felt really helped you build your success?
Well, you mentioned that this gentleman in this group was talking about, he has to get this, certification in order to have, the skill set or the credibility to help people. And, that definitely is a misconception, however, personal development is definitely important, focusing on, it doesn't have to be going to get a certification or spending a ton of money on a class or things like that, but taking the time to, whether it's going to conferences, that might help you in learning about your industry and, following, podcasts, books, websites, that have information that can help you just better understand your industry and the trends and what's happening. Keeping your finger on the pulse of what's going on and keeping yourself, just educated is definitely key. That helps you help other people, And, I do an awful lot of driving in my business, driving all over our territory, meeting clients and meeting with referral sources and so forth. And I try to use that time, wisely, listening to podcasts, audiobooks, things that will help me be better, in my industry and with my clients. And, so that's definitely something I think is important. It doesn't have to be a class. It doesn't have to be a certification. It doesn't have to cost you a lot of money, but, just keeping that personal development, a focus, doing something every week that helps you take yourself to the next level, I think is important. And then I think, making sure that recognizing your weaknesses, what are you not as good at, or what do you hate to do, either or. And then surrounding yourself, hiring people who are better than you at that thing, seeking out help from people, whether it's coaches or trainers that can, help you in the areas that you aren't as strong. You don't necessarily have to become a master of something that you're not good at or you hate, but, find those who are and have them help you.
Yeah.
That was one of my, I think, bigger stakes early on. And then I realized, several years ago that's what you need to do. You don't have to be the best at everything, but, or the jack of all trades, but you have to surround yourself with people who can support you in the areas where you're not as strong. So
I love that. And that's a part that really jumps out to me about your story, where you say, like, you built, even though you are a certified care manager, you focus on the operations of your business, not on delivering product or service. Because when you look up entrepreneur in the dictionary, it doesn't say the person who answers the phone, makes the sales, does the bookkeeping, cleans the toilet, mops the floor, does the book. That's not what it says. It says the person who organizes a business or businesses. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like, what did you learn and how have you figured that out and how do you handle that? And can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, there's the saying, don't work in your business, but on your business. And, that definitely, I think, is a hard lesson for any new entrepreneur to learn is, you have a skill set, you have a talent, and you want to utilize it, and you start a business because you love what you do, but then you spend every day doing that. You're doing the task that, you love, but that's not what's going to take your business to the next level. And it kind of depends somewhat on your goals. If you're happy, day in and day out being the service provider and doing that for yourself and for your clients, and that's fine. It's just when you're looking to grow and scale a business, you can't continue as the one that does those day-to-day tasks every day, because you have to focus on the bigger picture. You have to look at, what steps you need to take to scale the business. So you definitely have to outsource. You have to hire people. It's not always hiring. Sometimes it's hard as an entrepreneur with a small business to hire people because you're investing into salary and benefits and things like that. Sometimes it's outsourcing. Sometimes you can find, companies that do, just an example, bookkeeping. You can hire a company to do your bookkeeping, to manage your QuickBooks, and it would take a lot of time off of your plate for a minimal investment. You're not hiring an accountant for, $60,000 a year, but you're paying a company, you're outsourcing that on an hourly or monthly basis. And that investment, recognizing that investment is going to free you up, let's say it's 5 hours a week, and you could take those 5 hours and put them into the sales and marketing efforts for your company. To be able to look at that value and the return of investment is very important. You really have to take the things that are more menial, that are taking your time, that somebody else can do and maybe even do better, and turn those things over because they're not going to take your business. Doing those things, day in and day out are not going to help you grow, so.
Yep. I actually just had that conversation today. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Keep going, please.
Oh, no. The bottom line is just, recognizing your weaknesses or recognizing things that are not necessarily maybe you're not bad at them, but they're not going to produce anything more for your business. They're just time wasters essentially. So recognizing those things and turning them over, to someone else.
Yeah, that some of these things, they need to be done, but they're not they're important, but they're not important and urgent. It's not the highest value of your time. I love how you talked about as you grow, you won't be as you grow, you won't be able to do it all. And I love that, because when somebody goes to McDonald's drive-through, they're never like, sorry, Sally's sick today. That just doesn't happen. It's a business, right? They hire people.
Right.
It's like a rowboat. Okay, we need someone to beat the drum. We need 4 people on this side to row and 4 people on that side to row. We need who are those people in those positions, and who is the backup if they fall out? It's not one person trying to beat the drum and row all 5 paddles at once. Again, it comes back to this, maybe in the beginning you're the one doing everything. And I remember one of my earliest mentors, he said, Daryl, everyone's going to be a beta version of you. You're just going to have to accept it. Everyone's always going to be a beta version of you. So manage them based on the results, not how they get there. And that was a really important one for me, because I want everyone to do it my way, right? Because my way is the best way, and that, and you just can't as you scale, right? You just can't. There's just not enough hours a day.
Yeah, and when you are a type A person, which a lot of entrepreneurs are, it can be hard to delegate because of exactly that. Are they going to do it my way? Are they going to do it the right way? Are they going to, how are they going to do it? And basically having that trust to turn over something to someone else. It's hard. It's very hard to, find that in yourself to hand something over and trust that they're going to do it and they're going to do it right. And, I just found that, again, if you're hiring people that, are better at you than what it is, you're better than you at what it is you're handing off, and have a proven, track record. Almost everyone that I've hired, I knew in another capacity, either worked with them before, know them word of mouth through the community. And, so you're hiring them based on their skill set and their reputation. And so you have to have that trust and, and delegate. And otherwise, it just, you'll completely drown in your business if you don't do that.
Yeah, no, that's super smart. And I just even love what you said, hire out your weaknesses, right? Don't expect yourself to be the best at everything, because you're not, and you're just not being honest with yourself if you think you can do it all. And again, it's a lonely place. And you really, one of the things that stood out for me is that when we first talked, you really seemed to care about the people you're caring for. I mean, that's your business's care. And I love that. And that's, so it's even if you really care about your clients, your customers, the people you're serving, then you want to have a backup for them, right? You can't do that. Right. And then the flip side of that, even if you are just a money-hungry, ambitious person that's in it to get rich, if you want to make $100 an hour or $1,000 an hour, don't do $10 an hour work. Give that work to someone who wants $10 an hour, and you go do, you are paid in relation to the size of the problems you solved. The only problem that I'm trying to solve is, how do I get from here to across town? Well, I can walk and that's free and it can take me all day. Or I can ride a bike and that's a little bit more. Or I can pay someone to drive me and that's a little bit more. Or, right, I can buy a car, and but that's a bigger, right? And it's just so that's kind of the same thing. It's same thing with a convenience store. The only problem is who's going to sit here overnight, make sure nobody steals stuff, and take these boxes and put it on the shelf. That's a small problem versus how do I maintain a network of 12 of these stores and make sure they have constantly get the inventory they need, and we're constantly updating our shelves with what people are buying. That's a bigger problem. That's got a bigger price tag, right? And that's something that bothers me. I mean, I get it when there's CEOs that make $100 million, and I kind of get that, but I also kind of get both sides. I think,
Yeah. And even in your own personal life, if you're an entrepreneur and, your time is valuable, even things, simple things like hiring a housekeeper or, looking at getting someone to mow your lawn every weekend or, things like that, where you think you're saving money, on expenditures. And so you don't do those things. I can just do them myself and it's free. It's not though, because your time is very valuable. And, as an entrepreneur, especially with a family, I have young kids, that the value of that time, I can either be working on my business, which is making money, or I can be spending time with my family, which is extremely valuable. So, even in your personal life, looking at where you can kind of delegate and outsource things, Okay, so it's $40 a week to have your lawn mowed, and you look at the cost of it, but how long does it take you, and how much could you make with that time if you're putting it into other energies? So, that's been something that big mindset shift,
And it's true, because a lot of us don't grow up that way. What you said is so powerful, because I've been having a cleaner since I lived in San Diego, which is years ago now. I've constantly always had that, even when I've had ups and down times, because I just knew I needed to stay focused on what really mattered. And the other day, I think I kind of felt a little, I don't know if I felt guilty, but there's an app. I'm in Vietnam right now, and this lady came to clean, and I think I was feeling guilty because it's just the hour and a half, 2 hours she took. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. It's not it's just 3 of us and a dog. 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. Like we don't really even use the whole place that we're in. So it was
Sure.
but I remember I went and I kind of felt guilty because she was coming for just a couple hours of pay. Like my guilt was that, wow, she came all the way here. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of driving. She drove all the way here to do our cleaning. But I realized it's an app, and she's probably got a full day of work to do. But at the time, I was going in the elevator, taking my daughter to the pool, and I was like, I would pay her 3 times this. Do you know what I mean? I would pay her 7 times this to spend this day with my daughter and go play in the pool.
Exactly.
Like you can't you can't take it with you.
Exactly.
Like if you had to choose between living a life of scarcity and hoarding everything you could, and dying with this big pile of metal, essentially, right, gold or whatever, lump there next to your grave, or if you could go and die with a little bit of debt, but have spent as much time and pushed the envelope as hard as you could, and spend as much time as you could with the people that really mattered, and gave to the causes that matter to you. I just think there's just a better way to live. And
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So that's some powerful habits. So you talked about, hire at your weaknesses, work on your business, not just in your business. You also talked about personal development, because you mentioned something about when you hire people, there's will they do the same way as me? The other thing you have to realize is that that's a skill set as well. So as a business owner, you might be really good. Like there's someone, cleaning company is an easy one to take because we just mentioned it, but someone cleans for this company and they go, I'm the one that's doing all the cleaning. I'm the one that's doing all the cleaning. These guys just sit in the office and don't do anything, and I do all the work and they take all the money. It's so not fair. I'm going to open up my own cleaning business. And then they realize, oh, someone has to do the marketing and the sales, and someone has to do the taxes, and someone has to do the follow-up to get customers to come back again and again, and keep enough customers to have the cleaner have a full schedule. Do you know what I mean? And keep up to date with the training policies. And there's all these things that come into it under one roof. And so for a lot of entrepreneurs, if it's just you and you're doing the whole business, that's where you realize you might have been in that scenario. You might have jumped into the doing of the thing versus in the building of a business that does that thing. And that's where one of those skill sets is properly knowing how to hire and train people. And that's somewhere a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, is that because I started keeping like an objective 3 key metrics. I have a weekly 3 key metrics with my team. We meet every role. What are 3 metrics that define success, world class in this position? If it's an intangible, it's like, were you proactive this week? 1 out of 10, and do that. And one thing that shocked me was I found that when I was in good moods, I loved my team, even if things weren't going well. And when I was in bad moods, I wanted to fire them all, even if things were going great. And I realized how subjective, like what was going on in my life was with how, and maybe that's an overstatement, but things like they might make a small mistake and I just wouldn't care about it if things were going well. But I might make a big deal out of it if things were, and you have to understand that they're doing and that's where in a company you start realizing like, if they're contributing, this is where you get into unions and stuff. If they're contributing, doing their job to the best of their ability, and they're doing everything asked of them, and there's a cash flow shortage in the business, that's not necessarily their fault, right? So you can't come to them like a lot of solopreneurs might with the stress and intensity, right? That you might because you might have to take on some credit card debt this month to make payroll. Like those are things. Just to give as an example, to the listener, when you talk about that, that's what you're talking about. That working on your business, not in it. And there's a big difference between the doing of the thing and the working on the business of the thing. So
it is. And those people who are working day in and day out, on the operations of your business, like you say, you have to take care of them. You have to show them, that you care about them and that you appreciate, what it is that they're doing. As you mentioned, if things are not smooth sailing. You can't take your frustrations out on the people who are working tirelessly to keep your business afloat.
Yep.
And, just take the time and energy to recognize what they're doing and thank them, is definitely important. People need to feel appreciated, and if they just feel like when things are not going well, that you take it out on them, when it's not a direct result of what their work is producing.
Yep.
It's not fair, and you're not going to have people who are going to stick with you. My employees that are with me today, no one's been with me less than 4 years,
That's
so
amazing.
You have to foster that loyalty, and you have to be just as loyal to them as they are to you. So.
Yeah. You have to know when to let people go, but you also need to make, like you said, that's why it's called human resource. HR, because they're a resource. That's how we survived, as we work together as a team. That's a resource. It's this weird thing where 2 + 2 = 12 somehow, and that's what happens when you bring a team of people together. That's one of I asked at the beginning of this call, it's your morning, my night, and I asked you 3 things you were grateful for. Was something that we do every morning in this household. And one of the things that we often do is we're grateful that we have a team. We're grateful that we have a team because, man, if we didn't have a team, we would be having to work so much harder today than we're going to have to. But instead we have a nice day, a nice schedule. We can, we're busy, but if we drop the ball, it's fine. There'll still be food on the table. Like it's really good advice that you gave. So what were some of the other big challenges that you felt you had to face or that you had to overcome?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, finding ways to make up or support where you're weak. Or one of my biggest struggles in the business was financial. I know we can take care of people. We're really good at that. I know I have the right people in the right places, but focusing on the financial health of the company. And, yes, you may have money coming in every month and your bank account might not be going negative, but are you growing? Is the cash flow there? Are you going to be able to? Yeah, I've been moving and I'm kicking up, I think, a lot of dust and cat hair in my house. It's making me a little hoarse, but yeah. So I think just that was one of the hardest parts for me. Being a social worker and, case manager, not by any means a CFO, kind of figuring out how to evaluate those things and not just look at this month's finances, but, look 6 months down the road was definitely a challenge for me. So I sought out a coach for that. There's a business coach that I worked with that focused primarily on the basically an outsourced CFO is what she is. And, just had her coach me, had her show me what I needed to do, how to do it, what to look for, what the red flags are, and helped me get the business, really financially tight and healthy. What was a big turning point for me. I mean, that was really that year, I guess that's what my 3rd year in business was, a really big turning point when I really finally had a grasp on, the financial health of our company. What was key. And I think that's something a lot of small business entrepreneurs struggle with is, knowing that, having their finger on the pulse of that and keeping a tight rein on it. I think most of us just, at least early on, it's, money in, money out. Is there money there in the bank account today? Haven't bounced any checks. Okay, I'm good, but there's definitely a lot more to it than that. And if you want to really know if your business is on the right track, you have to be looking at these things, monthly, weekly, even daily. So
as long as I got chunks of money coming in and they're bigger than the chunks of money going out, everything's okay.
And sometimes they're not. And so, like you mentioned earlier, I mean, it's payroll time. So, pull on the line of credit, pay the checks, and then, I can pay it back next week. Okay, I'm good. So there's just so much more to it than that. And without a financial background or an MBA, that was just something that I had to find someone who was better than me at that to teach me what it is I need to do and look for. And it definitely worked. I mean, it definitely made a huge business turning point for me to have a finger on that pulse,
Which is awesome. I mean, that's fantastic. We don't really know what we don't know. I mean, there's always a thing where you hear people say ignorance is bliss, and that's so not true. Ignorance is pain and suffering, and
It is.
irreversible problems. And because as a perfect, I had an example, it just escaped me, but there's things that you're unaware of that, like, like when we were talking about chunks of money coming in, chunks of money coming out, there's nuances of things that you might not be well versed in because that's not your skill set. Things like net 30, like now maybe when you have, like before, you've been paying everything on time, but now you might your financial CFO might find ways for flexibility where, hey, we're in a cash flow squeeze, but they know how, we actually have net 30 on that, which means we have 30 days to pay them from the due date, where you've been treating it like that due date was a deadline. Or there's just all sorts of things that you can do where there's like factoring, where you sell off your debts. You have a customer that hasn't paid anything. Well, we've got this debt and they haven't paid us. Oh, well, your CFO might know a factoring company. You can sell that debt to them, get the cash you need. There's all these little nuanced things that you don't even know are possible, and that's what makes it why we said before, isolation is dangerous. It's really good and beneficial to ask for help. Typically, the owner is the bottleneck to the businesses because they're not, because they don't want to lose control of their baby. And it's like this weird, it's like a yin yang kind of thing. By trying to control everything, they have no control on everything that they would like to. And it's just,
there's also, it doesn't have to, I think a lot of people are afraid of change, and they're afraid of making adjustments in their business. Okay, we're doing this and we've been doing it this way and this works for us. And, I know my first 3 years of business, I never raised my rates ever. I put the rates in place kind of based on what I saw in the market, and I just left them there. And then, what I had to realize was, cost of business was going up, and people you were hiring were demanding more money to do the work. And so just a small adjustment, I think that year that I, worked with that coach, we increased rates like 3 to 5%, and our clients expected it, which was what shocked me. When I went with the letter to my clients, we've got to make some rate adjustments. I mean, I didn't get a single pushback, because they're expecting an increase yearly, and I hadn't done one in 3 years,
Wow.
And not only that, but also the caregivers that work for my company, we're giving them raises, based on their performance, and then we're not passing that cost on to the client. Well, they're expecting to give their client, that they see that as their, employee in a way. So they're expecting to give them raises, and they're grateful for what they do, so they want to pay them more. So, here I was thinking this is a huge, big, scary thing. Like, I can't raise my rates. Everybody's gonna leave me and go to my competitor, and not at all. Quite the opposite, in fact. So, just minor adjustments that you can make, that tweak, to our rate increase made a huge difference in our profitability, and gave us a lot more ability to manage the finances. So it's not always something big that you have to do. It can be small adjustments that you make that you may not have even realized were something that you could or should be doing. It's not a big scary monster. It's something actually quite manageable. So
I love that. That's a great tip too. Anybody who's listening to this, if you have something like you're a doctor or you're a counselor, or you have something with a calendar and your calendar is too full, you could double your rates and you would have to lose 51% of your customers before it would have been a bad financial decision. And typically, you may not want to double your prices, but typically when you do lose people, you lose the people that tend to be a little bit more problematic. And it's not because poor people are bad or wrong. It's not at all. It's just the way there's always an 80-20. And for whatever reason, when you up your prices, there's the people that were your customers that were just kind of hanging on, but because they were just barely hanging on, like they're nitpicky about everything and everything's super. And then when you raise the prices, now they have to cancel. Maybe they're upset because they have to leave. But now the people that are left, I don't know how to describe it. It's like you have to fight harder to sell someone a $10 item than you do have to sell a $10,000 item, because you're talking to a different person. It's just a weird. I don't shoot the messenger. I don't know why, but it just is. It just is.
Well, it's because they see the value. They have an understanding of the value, and you can't convince someone of value. They have to be able to recognize it themselves, and that happens a lot in the home care industry, actually, because when people are shopping around for senior care based on price, I realize that, again, like you said, in some circumstances, they have a fixed budget and there is only so much they can do. And unfortunately in our country, long-term care is not really an affordable thing. And that's neither here nor there. It's a topic for another discussion. Right. But, when someone is shopping for a service like elder care based solely on price, the perspective is completely different. Yeah. If you're looking for someone to care for your frail elderly grandmother, price probably shouldn't be, the main factor. You want to know you can trust that person. You want to know they've been background checked. You want to know that you have the right insurance. You want to know that there's backup in place if you need it. And there's so many important things when you're talking about care of your loved one, that you want a higher quality. You want something that you can, trust and be confident in. So you're right. I mean, I think that rings true probably in all industries, but in mine, maybe even more so, because that get what you pay for, mentality is very, very important. It's very frustrating if you're working with a company that's supposed to be providing care, whether it's elder care or child care. If you, and I've experienced this myself with my kids, if you're relying on someone to provide care so that you can work and do what you need to do, and then they're not reliable, I mean, that's a huge inconvenience, in your life. And so you definitely want to think about more than just price when you're shopping around for that kind of thing. And so I think you're right. Sometimes raising the price or having a price point that might be a little bit higher end of what the market dictates can help weed out, those who are not looking for all of those things, but really just shopping around based on price only. And it can make a big difference in the type of clientele that you end up working with.
Hands down. And the problem with price, I mean, if you can do it at a lower price, it can be a really good competitive advantage, right? If you can give the same value or greater for the same price or less, that can be a competitive advantage. But it's not the only means to do business. There will always be people that want to, there'll always be people that want to pay more or less money. It's just, you take something like the Super Bowl. There's the people that want to steal it and stream it online at home. There's the people that want to use pay-per-view. There's the people that want to group buy it by going to a pub and paying $5 to get into the pub, right? Then there's the people that want to go to the event and they want to sit on a hill outside the stadium and watch it with binoculars, right? And then there's the people that want to be inside sitting in the nosebleeds. There's a guy that wants to have his feet on the grass. And then there's people that want their booth. And these are all different price points, but it's the exact same product. Do you know, it's the exact same product. But there's a whole slew of people that want to pay different price ranges. So if you're just charging the least amount you can because that's the only thing that you think you have to offer, then that's a tough place, because then you have no margin. There's no profit to try to over-deliver, to invest in research and development, to be prepared for things in the future. So I don't know why, but I remember when I had my martial arts school, I went from charging $75 a month to $150 a month because, like you, I had a mentor tell me to do that, and it didn't change my sign-up rate at all. I didn't change my sign-up rate at all. I offered a discount, so it would be more like $130 if people signed up, because they came in they get like a free 30-day trial, but if they signed up like the first kind of week thing, they get for $130 instead of $150, and an even bigger discount if they paid for the year in full. And 1 out of 5 people would pay me for a whole year in full cash, just swipe their card or whatever, which was a shock to me because that was a lot of money to me at the time. And that's, again, you can't decide for other people. You really just need to give them a plate of options and see what they want. But when I had people come in and they would look at that 150 or 130 and they'd be like, well, can I pay every week? Can I pay that? Not only did I find I had to make exceptions for them that way, but they would show up to classes late and they wouldn't be prepared for stuff. And it was like the concept of how you do something is how you do everything. And I don't know, but it just permeated. It was just an interesting phenomenon for me. And you always feel for those people, right? But no, that's not the way. It's not the way to do it. So, where do you think the future of your industry is headed? What does this look like? Your industry look like in 5 years?
Well, it's actually changed quite a bit very quickly, since I've gotten into it. And one of the big things that's happening in my industry right now is consolidation, because, there's a big need for what we refer to as the continuum of care. So, one person, one elderly person, has multiple needs. They need home care, they need therapy, they need a physician, they need medication management, they need, hospice care. And so it's being able to meet all of their needs in one place, or at least seamlessly, transitioning from one to the other, is really key right now in our industry. So there's a lot of consolidation. There's a lot of larger players getting into the industry and trying to solve that problem of there's a lot of the disjointedness amongst the different levels of care and the different services that are needed to really support someone who's aging. So that shift has been happening very rapidly here in the last couple of years of the hospital systems and rehab centers and all the places where these people are going for help are then turning around to make these referrals out, and they want a seamless transition. They want something that they can turn that patient over, and all those things are going to be managed and handled in one place. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of interest from insurance companies and hospital systems and so forth in the private duty home care market, because it's one part of the continuum that has been sort of overlooked. The healthcare system focuses on dealing with acute needs, managing the symptoms and the illness that the person has at that moment and getting them better and getting them out the door. But there's a huge need for supportive services, for things that will help that person basically manage their day-to-day needs and keep them as independent as possible, so that they're not relying on the insurance and the hospitals as much. So there's a big shift in the industry for supporting people in their homes, for helping them maintain their independence, for keeping them healthy, being proactive about those things. And private duty home care is a big part of that, because we're there on a day-to-day basis, monitoring that person's health and wellness and the needs that they have. And we're a constant that sees that person on a regular basis and can help coordinate all of those other pieces. So, while our industry right now is largely not reimbursed by insurance, I think that's going to change. I think that it needs to change. We have 10,000 people a day turning 65, and so it's going to be a huge burden on our country. Absolutely. So I think that there's definitely a lot of eyes on our industry. There's some big changes coming down the pike, and so I think those of us in this business are trying to position ourselves to be a part of that solution. And I don't think small companies, mom and pop shops are going to be around very long. I think that it's going to be a lot of consolidation. There's going to be a lot of strategic partnerships and alliances that are going to happen at a higher level. And so that's why we, at my company, actually, we just were acquired. Last Monday, I signed on the dotted line. Thank you. We were purchased by a company called Care Advantage, which is the largest privately held private duty home care company in the Mid-Atlantic. And we're one of 3 acquisitions they've had in the Northern Virginia, D.C. market in the last 18 months. And so our goal, Care Advantage's goal, is to create exactly that, a support for these clients, throughout the whole life process, so that we can really manage them in the homesteading and help take some of that burden off of the system. So
awesome. That's exciting. That's super exciting. Congratulations. Yay.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting. Thank you so much. We're very pleased to be a part of it, because one of my main concerns was that we didn't lose our our personal touch and the focus on the individual. That's so important to us at Allegiance, and fortunately, Care Advantage has that same overarching mentality, and so it's a perfect fit. It really works out very well for us. So
that's awesome.
We're excited for the future, and it's a very bright future for our clients and our employees alike, and we're going to be able to help so many more people, and that's the goal.
That's fantastic. Now, were there any intricacies to to that, to being acquired? Like, do you have any recommendations if anyone listening to this is going through something similar? Is there any advice you would give, or you know what I mean, like in the process of this?
Yeah, the biggest piece of advice personally, I think, is to make sure that the goals and the core values are in alignment. You really want to, if your goal is to be acquired, and you want to keep, obviously I'm going to continue working in the business and working with Care Advantage. If you are looking to be acquired and continue to work in the business, you really want to make sure that it's with a company that aligns with yours, that has the same core values, that has the same goals, the same, like I said, the focus on the end user, the client. That's very important, because you don't want to hand, like you said, your business is your baby, You don't want to hand your baby over to someone who is not in alignment with you. And so for me, that was the most important thing. I mean, we had probably a half a dozen different, inquiries with the industry going the way that it is, with consolidation all over the place. We were approached by a lot of different companies, and this one was the right fit for us. And I think that's the most important thing, is just to make sure that you're really in alignment with that company, and that you're going to be just as comfortable working with and selling the services that you're doing post-acquisition as you were before the acquisition. So I think that right there is key.
That's awesome.
To making sure you can be confident. Yeah.
That's so awesome. Pam, you've been so kind and generous and fun to talk to on this interview. You've given, I feel like, just a really great kind of step-by-step like tutorial. I mean, some of it was high level, but we also got into specifics. I think people here listening may want to go back and listen to this a couple times again. Because you talk, like I said, hiring out your weaknesses. You mentioned getting referral sources up and running. I think that's something a lot of businesses, we didn't go into that yet, but I think that's something that a lot of businesses don't focus on, which just by having those in place can be really powerful as well. Like, there's just a lot of gold in this call. So people may want, if they didn't take notes, listen to this again and definitely take some notes. Is there anything I didn't ask you, though, that you think I should have asked you?
Well, I think we covered quite a few topics that I think are very important for entrepreneurs. That I guess one final takeaway is you have to do everything with integrity. You have to focus and keep that in mind at all times. Reputation is everything. So don't take on tasks that you can't fulfill. Be honest with people if you are in the weeds or over your head. And definitely keep the focus on your integrity. Don't compromise that, because, that really is the most important thing. You have to build a reputation. You're branding yourself and your company. And so, that to me has to always be at the forefront of really every interaction in your business. So.
I love that. I feel like that's what branding actually is. Like, branding isn't really a logo. I mean, it can be logos and it can be colors and how the color makes you feel. But my experience in helping companies do anywhere from just a few $100,000 to a couple of million is that marketing is really about the offers you're making. Like, almost think of it like coupon marketing, or like, what's the offer? That's what you're marketing. But then the branding is your reputation with them. When they see you again and again and again, you show up at this party and that party, and they see you here, and they hear about your friend that did some business with you. That's, like you said, like dealing with integrity. That's your brand. That's what you're known for. That's what people, the brand is what kind of evolves over time as people interact with you.
Right.
But I love that. I think that's really, really important.
You are the brand. I mean, that's the thing that the entrepreneurs have to remember, is they referral sources and clients work with you because of you. And so that, you are the brand. When you're out there, putting your face in front of them, and everything you say and do, they're watching. And, you have to remember that you are your company, and they're doing business with you because of you. So.
I love it. Pam, if people want to reach out, they want to get in touch with you, maybe they want to talk to you about helping them find a provider, what are some of the best ways for them to reach out?
Yeah, so our website is a good place to find our contact information. You can actually contact us through the form there. You can read our blog, all those things. So it's allegianceva.com, like Pledge of Allegiance. And they can also reach me directly at pam@allegianceva.com.
Perfect. Pam, thank you so much again for coming and joining us here. It's been such an honor and a pleasure. I look forward to talking with you and finding out how things are going, 6 months, a year from now after you've been acquired and all that. That's super exciting. Thank you so much for coming. I know you have a family. I know we have delays. You've just been fantastic. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give to them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.